And a swing and a drive. High and deep into left field and way back and gone. Oh, my goodness. Off the stick of Whitney into the glass. Scooped up by Hemsky, and he's hammered. And it's caught. It's caught.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of The Wrap Up. I'm your host, Nick Buckler. With me, as always, Dan Myers. And as always, Dan, thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me again.
We got a lot to talk about today, and we're going to start right into it with the Detroit Tigers. They were in action, like they always are. They started off the week, and with a little interleague matchup against the Chicago Cubs, they came to Comerica Park. Tigers, two of their worst starting pitchers, at least for the time being, were on the mound in this one. And Anibal Sanchez started it off and got back on track in this game. The Tigers win it 6-0. Anibal goes 7 2/3, only allows 7 hits, no earned runs, or 6 hits rather, 7 strikeouts, and 0 earned runs. He looked like he was back.
Yeah, I felt like he was back too. Like he looked comfortable and relaxed. He had a couple of hiccups, but other than that, no, it was great.
Yeah, it really was good to see. Another guy that we were hoping to get back on the right track was Shane Green. He ended up going for the Tigers on Thursday, and well, let's just say this ended his time right now in the majors. He was optioned to AAA Toledo after this start. He goes 3+ innings pitched, gives up 7 hits, 5 earned runs. He does strike out 3. That's a strikeout an inning, but Tigers dropped this one 12-3. It was never close. It was just Shane Green's just been brutal in this game. It's frustrating. He started so well, so much promise, and it's gone.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? That's a great call. You know, he had a great time up here, initially starting, and then obviously he has to go down there and get some work done, fix all the kinks that he has, and
fix everything.
Yeah, essentially. Yep. But yeah, that was a good call. We had to get him out of there. He wasn't helping the team whatsoever, and he just needed take him down there for a while and fix it, and hopefully we get a better Shane Green.
If he does come back at all this season, it will be interesting to see what happens now that Justin Verlander is back in the rotation. Who gets Shane Green's spot? Are they going to leave Kyle Ryan in there? When Lobstein comes back, is he going to get the spot? It'll be interesting to see how Brad Ausmus and Dombrowski shuffle this all together. But enough of that series. Let's put it behind us. A division rival comes into town, the Cleveland Indians. 4-0. Tigers take it against a guy who they've struggled against in the past few years, Danny Salazar. Tigers shut him out. David Price, his second straight complete game, and he shuts him out. 4-0 is the final score. Price goes 9, 8 strikeouts, 7 hits, 0 earned runs. And Cabrera hit a mammoth home run in that game. It actually went into the camera well, and he had all 4 RBIs in that game, and that was kind of not an offensive showdown, at least in that game, other than Cabrera, but a win's a win, and right now the Tigers need to take those any way they can get them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, take them any way you can get them, and hats off to Miguel Cabrera. That guy is just incredible. I mean, that ball just landed about 2 hours ago, and it's just the bombs he's hitting, and he's just no turning back. That's great. It's very exciting to have that guy on our team right now.
It's exciting.
Incredibly fun to watch.
It really is. A guy who we're hoping will be exciting in the future is Justin Verlander. He makes his first start of the season on Saturday. He goes 5 innings, only gives up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 strikeouts. Didn't look horrible, but you could tell he was getting tired. The fatigue was wearing in for him. Turned it over to the bullpen in that game. Blaine Hardy ends up getting the loss in that one. They drop it 5-4. A late home run to straightaway center field from J.D. Martinez. Turns out to not be enough. The Tigers' bats were not clutch in the end. They had first and third with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th inning. That same guy, J.D. Martinez, was up to bat. Grounds into a double play. It's been the story of the Tigers' season right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've just struggled when guys are on base. They lead the league in offensive double plays. So it's just really frustrating. Even guys like Cabrera are hitting into him. Even fast guys like Rajay Davis, Anthony Gose are hitting into him. And the offensive struggles are still somewhat continuing with those guys. Anthony Gose just 2 weeks ago was hitting .335, and now he's down to .290. Rajay's been mixing it in a little bit. He's hitting about .270. J.D. Martinez has been just really struggling at the plate. He's down to .252. Cespedes and Cabrera have been their only 2 consistents right now in that order. And two guys aren't going to be able to carry you to the playoffs, let alone make a run in the playoffs. And it's going to be frustrating to see if they can turn it around, hopefully before the All-Star break or by the end of June.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I feel like that game was really overshadowed with the fact that Justin Verlander made his debut. But there, I'm excited to see how Justin's going to do. He showed some promise, potential, a lot more than I thought he might have, which was great because, we can use him, and hopefully, should we make it to the postseason or at least later in the season, he'll be a solid pitching hand, just as healthy. So that'll be something that the Tigers, should they be making a run for the postseason, that'll be like something that they'll have in their back pocket, is the fact that they'll have hopefully a Justin Verlander, should he keep improving and at least just stay healthy. That could be something that could be real big gun for them to have in their back pocket.
It really would, just to get the Verlander of years ago back, or at least somewhat back. If he can win, 10 games for this season, that'll be great, because he's only going to be pitching about 3/4 of the season or 2/3, and it would be a plus definitely to get. He's been there, he's done that. He's thrown 2 no-hitters. He's won Cy Youngs. He's won MVPs. He's a good pitcher, and he's just struggled of late ever since the contract. People have their theories of why he struggled. I'm not buying any bit of that with his Kate Upton saga and all that. I'm not buying it. Right. I don't think that has anything to do with the way he's playing baseball. I just think he's going through a rough patch right now, and I hope he's not past his prime. Because if he's past his prime, he's been the face of the organization other than Miguel Cabrera for the past few seasons, and they're going to need him if they're going to have success.
Yeah, he's a professional athlete, and if he had that type of mentality where these outside influences were to jeopardize hhis talent potential, he wouldn't be here. He wouldn't have made it as far. So, like you said, I'm not worried about it either. He's a professional athlete. It's a tough injury, especially when you're number one, you're on top for so long, and then something like this happens, and you start going down in the slump. Yeah, that would mess with anyone. So, I'm not really worried about that. Yeah, we could get rid of the whole social media stuff, but that's just distractions. The real story here is he's just trying to get back, get healthy again.
I forgot Rod Allen was my co-host on this show. It's funny. He's a professional athlete. That's something you'd say. Gary Sheffield's hitting 197, but he's a professional athlete. He'll right the ship. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I do think JV's gonna right the ship, at least somewhat. Yeah. But I don't know if being a professional athlete's the reason why. It's just a funny little analogy there that yeah. Rod likes to toss at us. The guy plays 2 games in the major leagues, and all of a sudden he's Cy Young. He's Babe Ruth. But beside the point, let's not waste our time on him. The Tigers played Sunday, and they won 8-1. Alfredo Simon gets the win in that game. He ends up going 5 innings. And he would have gone more had there not been an hour and 51-minute rain delay in that game. Both starters were knocked out. Corey Kluber was going for the Indians. He's the reigning Cy Young champion. A guy who's had his number in his entire career has been Miguel Cabrera. I don't think that home run's landed yet, the one he hit yesterday. That went all the way into the top part of the shrubbery in center field, almost went into the concourse up by the fountain. This weekend, he has hit 2 home runs, almost 1,000 feet of total distance, both to straightaway center field. He's swinging the bat better than I've seen him this whole season in a long time, and I think maybe I would look out for him to, maybe get back into the MVP race and batting title, and who knows, maybe even another Triple Crown.
Yeah, fingers crossed. That'd be great. I mean, whatever he's doing, keep doing it. Those 2 home runs this weekend were just incredible. I mean, it's the Miguel Cabrera show, really. You go to the park, and that's obviously who you're going to see. You never know what he's going to pull out of his hat. Whether it's just fooling around in the field, making great plays, or just going up offensively and just cranking the ball. So that was incredible to see.
It really was, and that's the thing. Whenever he comes up to the plate, I get excited. He could be 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, but he always poses that threat for the long ball. He's in scoring position when he is up in the batter's box, and who knows when, because he has such an act for the clutch hit or driving guys in, taking a walk. He leads the league in intentional walks right now, and that I feel like has been a big thing about Yoenis Cespedes' success is he's got Cabrera on base. Guys are pitching around him. He's getting angry. I know in that Oakland series when they pitched around Cabrera to get to Cespedes, and Cespedes cracked a 3-run homer against his former club in their ballpark, and that we got a good 1-2 punch there. Let alone we get Victor Martinez back. That'll add a lot of depth to this lineup as well. And he had a rehab start on Sunday in Toledo. He went 1 for 2 with an RBI single in that game, and I believe they had a rain delay, might not even have finished the game, I'm not sure. But if Victor can come back healthy and even just hit 280, it would be a huge boost to this lineup, because you could tell he was really struggling before he went out, and it was really almost painful to watch because he was in so much pain. And he's the middle of the order. He's our cleanup hitter. He sets the table for JD, Castellanos, Cespedes, and he provides the protection for Cabrera because he hits right after him. So without him, this lineup lacks quite a bit.
Yep. Yeah, there's a certain formula as far as having that lineup going, and when you take one brick out of the equation, it sort of offsets it. So if we can get them back and healthy and not have to worry about Cabrera getting walked, that would be great. Just be able to get back on track and have them getting solid again.
It really would be nice to see them right the ship. I want to get into a little hockey talk here. This weekend, there's been a lot in the news with Ken Holland talking about possible trades, who's on the block, who's not, what they're going to do with the draft, and I really want to get your take and just kind of touch on this about the Red Wings have 2 potential starting goaltenders, and see one of them sitting on the bench every day is not good. I mean, I would much rather have Peter Mrazek than Jimmy Howard. I feel like Jimmy Howard lacks a little bit more value, also not only because of his inconsistency in the crease, but his contract is through the roof. He's making $5.29 million. That's the cap hit, I believe, for the next 4 or 5 years, and Mrazek's making $750K, and he's the future. He's younger, he's more explosive, and he got a lot of great experience this postseason against Tampa, and I feel like he was not at all the reason why they lost that series, but one of those guys is going to get moved, I think, before the season starts. It's only a matter of who, what they're going to get, and where they're going to go.
Yep, absolutely. They have great trade value with either one of them. I'm with you. I'd much rather see Jimmy go. That's a big contract. That if we can just get rid of that, that'd be great. Maybe get him like potential upcoming stars. We're not going to get like an all-star for him. Clearly.
Cleary?
Did that just come out? Wow. See, that's next on my list. Yeah, I guess I was already jumping ahead of myself. Yeah, that's another guy I'd love to get rid of too. But as far as the goalie situation, I'm right there with you. I'd love to have Mrazek. He's not eating up the cap, but if we do make him starting goalie, we're going to have to pay him more. He definitely earned his paycheck this postseason. So if we could get Howard out of there while he's still maybe worth something, I don't know if that's really that term applies right now, especially considering the shakiness he had last season. It was always a little stressful when he'd come in because you weren't sure what kind of mindset he was in when he would jump between the pipes. So get rid of him, Cleary.
It's funny you bring up Dan Cleary. Ken Holland has hinted towards Cleary coming back, and it looks like Dan Cleary will be on the Red Wings roster next season, and that's kind of an outrage to me. I don't know if there's some hidden thing that they promised Cleary until you feel like you're done playing, we're going to sign you, whether you play 5 games or you play 70 games, which if he plays 70 games, the Red Wings will not make the playoffs. But that aside, Dan Cleary is a veteran leader. He has to be great in the locker room, or else I don't know why they'd want to bring him back all these years. He's got to be good for at least the player development of some of the younger guys. He's definitely been there. He's done that. He's won Stanley Cups. He's been the only guy from Newfoundland to win a Stanley Cup, as Doc Emmerich always likes to point out every time he touches the puck on NBC Sports. But it's almost like the game slows down when the puck gets on his stick, and it's hard for the rest of his line mates, whether it be Weiss, whether it be Yurko, whether it be, because he's normally not on your line with Datsuk, Zetterberg, Abdelkader, those guys. He's going to be on the line with the grinders, the Glendenings, the Millers, and Andersons. It's tough for those guys to develop when they got, Old Faithful on their right side, and I'm not sure if I'd call him faithful.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, Ken Holland, he's a genius when it comes down to making decisions and stuff like that. Something's going on in the locker room that we're not seeing. He's doing something that's making him, the coach, happy. So what it is, I'm not sure. I'm right there with you.
It's not talent.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. He's not impressing me on the ice, but obviously he's contributing something to keep him in the organization. So maybe we'll find out this year.
Another guy that's questionable, Johan Franzen. Always a controversy with him. You know, the wind blows and the guy's concussed. It's frustrating to watch because he's such a streaky scorer. He can get so hot at times, and then he can be just so miserable at times to watch. It's like he's not trying sometimes. Then when he's on, he's on. In the postseason, he's one of the best postseason players. In the last few postseasons for the Red Wings, when he's been healthy, he can score 30 goals easily in this league, but it's almost like he's not asserting himself. He's looking back. He's hesitant to go into corners and battle for the puck. Holland thinks he's going to be ready for training camp, even though he has this post-concussion syndrome, and I don't know what other kind of anything he's got going on. And it's only a matter of time before he gets hurt again, I almost feel like. And would it almost be like better off to cut their losses with him, although he's making more money than Donald Trump, it seems like, for the next 1,000 years. I feel like they signed him to a life contract. He's locked up through 2021, making $6.75 a year. It's just, that's stupid money for a guy who spends more time in the hospital than he does on the ice. Yeah. So it's frustrating, but if he's back, he's going to be back.
I really don't think he is. I think the moment that really sold me that, you know, he's pretty much done was when I think it was Phil Kessel was beaking him in the locker room, saying, you know, next time bring your purse to the rink or something like that, because he's not sticking up for himself.
That's funny.
And I feel like that was the point where I was like, you know what, he's just not the same player. And anyone with a concussion will tell you that in the pros, that it's not the same. You have this weight on your shoulder that you just can't shake off, because, you know, the next hit could be your last. You never know. So what to do with them? It's, you know, in a perfect world, have someone buy him out, get rid of him, whatever. But, you know, if he wants to keep coming back, you know, good for him. But I just feel like he really needs to have, you know, a mental check, figure out something, get these demons out of his head, because obviously that's what's messing up.
Cleary.
Clearly.
Dan Cleary. Okay, that aside, guys who else they're going to possibly trade. Anthony Mantha was a name that was mentioned, and he's a guy that was so highly touted when he was in, you know, Quebec, playing in their junior league and throughout juniors and growing up. He was a guy that the Wings were just so high on, and he comes into the AHL. He breaks his leg before this season, and he just never really came back this whole year. I mean, he played almost the entire season, and he still just struggled. And I don't know if he's lost some value, but now the Red Wings have come out and said, we're open to trading Anthony Mantha before the draft, as well as our first-round pick, which is 19th overall. They can get some good talent for a guy like Mantha and for that first-round pick if they decide to do so.
Yeah, and that's a smart game plan, too. If they were going to bring Mantha up and he's going to play in the show, get rid of him now. I mean, if he's still got value to him, and nobody knows what he's like, you know, in the pros right now. So that's a smart game plan to have. You know, if obviously they feel that they can lose, you know, they can get rid of him after all those declining offers that they didn't want to get rid of him initially. Maybe there's something that they don't know, or we don't know that they do, and, you know, get some value for him before the season starts. That's a great game plan. I thought he was supposed to be a lot better, but, you know, with them keeping declining offers, you know, great offers, but we'll see. Maybe there's something up their sleeve. If they can get, you know, a big star for him, more power to him.
A name that comes up a lot now that I've been reading is Phil Kessel. Maple Leafs would like to move him before the draft. Is Detroit a possible destination for a guy like Phil Kessel?
I feel that possibly, but it's going to take a total reevaluation of Phil Kessel's character, especially in the locker room. All the negativity that you hear coming from the Toronto Maple Leafs news organizations and, you know, inside, you know, anonymous people talking. This could be a good rehab place for him, and just, you know, get back on track, you know, focus. It's not about you, it's about the team. And never say never. That's all I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it would be great to have a big guy like that who can score, but
he's fast, he can score, he's got experience, but I almost feel like he's a little bit almost like prissy when he's out there. He cheap shots guys and then hides behind a teammate. And I don't know if that's the Red Wing way at all. We've never been a team that's cheap-shotted. We barely even fight. We're going to beat you on the ice, and that's all that matters. He's almost has an ego that won't fit in this dressing room, but I guess you never know until it happens. The team in 2002, a lot of people thought they had a bunch of egos in the locker room, but they ended up playing like a great team with Brett Hull, Luc Robitaille, Steve Yzerman, Fedorov, Shanahan, Lidstrom, Hasek, the list goes on. The Hall of Fame team in 2002. They put it together. I'm not saying Phil Kessel's at all on the level of those guys, but just from an ego standpoint, I feel like his head is way too big for his shoulders, and I don't know if he's a guy that should be a Red Wing.
Yeah, that's true, but you made a great point pointing out Brett Hull, one of the biggest egos in the league. All right, if we can change Brett Hull, we can change anybody. Granted, Scotty Bowman was behind the bench, and if anybody could do it, it'd be Scotty Bowman. But, this organization, there's still a lot of leftovers from those championship teams. And, if we can change Phil Kessel into that type of, Red Wing player, but, as you and I were talking about last week, this isn't the same organization as it was that for us when we were growing up. There's been so many changes, character-wise, talent-wise, up in the organization as far as the different not GMs, but executive positions. So it's a changing period. You never know. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
That's really true. And we're going to switch gears to something we don't really talk about too much on the show, and that's Pistons basketball. There is a basketball team still. I'm not sure how much longer, though. There will be one if they continue to play like they've been. But they made a trade this past week, and they added a power forward, Ersan Ilyasova from the Milwaukee Bucks. They traded away 2 expiring contracts to do so in Sean Williams and Caron Butler, who I think he's going to be in a nursing home before he plays on the court again. But, great deal by Stan Van Gundy, I think, to add a guy like Ilyasova who's played pretty above average basketball in his career for 2 guys who really barely ever played here. And they're expiring contracts after this season. It's not get rid of them. That's a good thing to do, and I think it kind of solidifies the future for Greg Monroe a little bit. He won't be back, I don't think, because they add this in the trade, and it was already rumored that he was going to leave. He wants to go get a max contract, and I don't think he's worth a max contract because you have Andre Drummond here and possible the guys that you can add. Reggie Jackson needs to be re-signed, and I think they need to tie their money up more somewhere that's going to benefit the team than the Moose, who's just been kind of going through the motions the past few seasons. Looks like he doesn't want to be here.
Right, yeah, you're absolutely right. It didn't look like he wanted to be there. And that was a great move. It was get rid of those 2 guys. They weren't contributing. This guy, he's not the biggest name in the league, obviously, but he's one of those guys that could be a key player and turn this team around and get them back on track to the Pistons of old. And I was impressed. Stan Van Gundy, great, huge name as far as basketball coaches, and he knows what he's doing. It's just, this wasn't going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen. It might not happen this season, maybe next season, but he's the type of guy that if he's going to, run the ship, that's one guy you need.
That's true, and I think over time he's going to be a good addition for the Pistons, and as well as Stan Van Gundy. He's doing the right thing so far. Last year he proved it when he outright cut the highest paid player on the team middle of the season because he felt like almost he was a cancer to the team. And the guys didn't like him. He just was negative, bringing the team down. Then they go rattle off 10 straight wins after they outright cut a guy who's making $16 million a season. That showed almost a lot of guts, and it proved to have some little bit of glory mixed in too, as Mickey Redmond says.
There you go.
But there's a rumor out right now. LaMarcus Aldridge from Portland, big name player, big name talent. He can play small forward. He can play power forward. He's going to be a free agent, and he's going to be looking for a max contract. And what makes this interesting is I read an article on Bleacher Report. It's Bleacher Report. It's almost like the Wikipedia of sports. Any average Joe can go publish an article on there.
A little more credible than Wikipedia.
Oh, okay.
At least I like to believe that.
Okay. Well, here's what's interesting about the Aldridge rumor that I read. The Pistons just hired a VP of basketball operations, and for Palace Entertainment as well. And that guy happens to be LaMarcus Aldridge's agent. And why not bring one of your clients to play for you where you were just hired in an up-and-coming team with a lot of young talent. Aldridge alone can make the Pistons a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference. He is that explosive of a player. And then you can re-sign Reggie Jackson with Andre Drummond down low, getting 20 rebounds a game. And then if Caldwell Pope can shoot well, the Pistons team could be a threat in the Eastern Conference. If he wants to make the playoffs, the East is where you're going to do it. There's no parity in the league of basketball. The West is so much more dominant than the East, unless, LeBron calling himself the greatest player in the world in a press conference. But that's a whole different can of worms that I hate to talk about. I want Golden State to win.
Oh,
I
right there with you.
don't feed LeBron's ego or his believers anymore. It's over with. Who cares? I think the LeBron saga is done after this. No Kevin Love, no Kyrie. I get that, but let's go back to the Pistons here. I think they're only a few players away from being a contender, and Aldridge might be one of those guys, and I think it would be really interesting to see how the summer plays out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, like the Red Wings organization, this is a big transitional period with the NBA. You got Kobe Bryant talking about retiring. Those big names, those big organizations that were once powerhouses really aren't. And it's like I said, it's a transitional period. So why not let it be the Pistons being the big, organization? Yeah, that would be great. And hey, stranger things have happened in the NBA, well, in any sports organization. So yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yes, Stan Van Gundy, he's got this persona. I remember I really liked him when he was coaching Orlando. He was just entertaining to watch. So when the Pistons picked him up, I thought it was great. I watched a couple of interviews with I think it was Dwight Howard, JJ Redick, and they're just nothing but praises. And that's Dwight Howard saying that about him, and we all know how that story played out. So, he's got that, for lack of a better word, that swagger, with the connection with his players. So, there's a lot of respect there, especially after the firing that he made and the Pistons going on that roll. So there's a lot of respect in the organization. I feel it's just going to get stronger. Players are going to feel the need to play harder for them, and maybe you can just bring this team together. We got a good group of guys, but I feel like the connection's not so much there that you'd normally see on a championship-winning team like the Wings in '97, the Boston Red Sox in '04. Those teams that have that true connection. I mean, the Pistons of '04. Look at that. They were incredible. They're tightly knit, very close. If we can just get that going too, have his core players going, we could have a great potential.
Really could. A team that had a tightly knit team, the Regina softball team. They just won the state title this past weekend, so congratulations to them. That was up in Lansing at Michigan State University, so that was good to see a local high school bring it home. So congratulations to the Regina girls on bringing home a state championship.
All right.
That's about all the time we have for the wrap-up today. For Dan Myers, I'm Nick Buckler. Thanks for watching.